The next interview is with Helen Saunders Houdek and Ann Saunders Dunphy.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming in. My name's Gene Horton, local historian, and I'm in the library, and it's Monday, May 20th, 2013, and we're about to start an interview with Helen Saunders Houdek. And she's an old-timer here in town, Bayport and Blue Point, and so we'll pick up our interview right now. I already gave her full name. Now, Helen, where and when were you born?
I was born in Patchogue in April of 1934, and then I came home to Pleasant Avenue in Blue Point, a few days old.
Oh, and you lived here your whole life?
Well, until I moved. But I'm still around here.
Good. I'm glad you're still around. That's wonderful. And how did your family come to live in Blue Point?
Well, my mother's father worked for Armour Meats, and they came to Blue Point when she was 12, and she went to Patchogue High School.
Yeah, Blue Point never had a high school.
That's right.
No. Did you go to school here?
I did.
You did up to the 8th grade, I presume?
Yes, I did.
And then you went to Patchogue.
Yes, and my picture is still up there.
It's hanging in the school today, right in the lobby.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, I went into school the other day and I saw all those pictures. They have them nicely grouped up on the wall.
Yes, they do.
What class were you in from Blue Point?
1948.
48, yeah, isn't that one? So you knew Mr. Hawkins over there.
Oh, very, very well.
He was a wonderful man, wasn't he?
Character.
Dwayne Hawkins.
He would say, open the window and let Dwayne in.
Let Dwayne in.
When it was raining.
Dwayne.
Yes.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Oh, he's a wonderful.
I last met Mr. Hawkins here at the library for the 50th anniversary. I wish he was still alive.
Right.
Because he would have been here for the 75th.
Oh, yes. Well, I handled the health insurance for the school district in Bayport. So I was very fortunate to know a lot of the teachers.
Isn't that wonderful?
And still stay in touch with them.
Do you remember Mrs. Howard over there?
Yes, when they got married.
I know they did. Miss Adams.
Oh, gosh, yes. She was my third grade teacher. She played the piano beautifully.
Oh, and Mrs. Larrabee.
Oh.
And Mrs. Larrabee?
Oh, yes, she taught us penmanship with the eraser on our wrist. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
The Palmer method.
The Palmer method.
And you had to go like this with your circles.
And you know, that's a lost art today.
Oh.
It's a lost art.
My granddaughter is in fourth grade. They don't write.
They print.
Yes.
Isn't that unbelievable?
But I never learned how to print. See?
What would Mrs. Larrabee think of that?
Well, she'd be out of a job.
She wouldn't like it.
No.
No.
Not at all.
You know, when she started to work over there, her name was Cook.
That's right.
Miss Cook.
That's right.
And then it became Mrs. I don't remember her husband at all, but I just knew Mrs. Larrabee.
Well, she taught her social studies because she had traveled a lot.
Yes.
And I remember when she went on the Grand Canyon on a donkey, and she played that overture. What was the overture?
That was William Tell.
That's what I thought. Anyway, years later, I went to Grand Canyon, and she said to me, "Did you go on the donkey ride?" I said, "No, I didn't." "Oh, you missed an experience." I said, "Well, how old are you when you went?" "Oh," she said, 22. I said, "Well, I was 50 plus." So she says, "I understand."
It took a while to go down on that donkey thing, too.
Yes, I saw it.
And I believe the further down you went, the hotter it got. And it wasn't pleasant. But it's an experience.
Yes.
She was a great woman. She was also here for the 50th anniversary of the library. Yeah, Mrs. Larrabee. And even now when I go by her house, I still think of, that's Mrs. Larrabee's house.
That's right.
Over there on Bayview. That was great.
I used to play the piano for her.
Oh, did you really?
And when she did the skits, she went to South America and she brought back all these costumes. So I played the piano, and she lived then up on North, either Kennedy or Division.
Oh, did she live up there?
When
Oh,
I was
okay.
younger.
So when you had her in class, was she Miss Cook?
No, she was.
Oh, she was already Mrs. Larrabee.
When I had her.
And do you remember her sister at all?
No, I don't.
Oh, I can't remember her name, but I did meet her over at the house. I know that. No, I can't remember it, but I should have. But anyway, so that's really interesting. That's very good. So, and then I know that, of course, you married Ed at some point.
Right. And we met in high school. We met actually on a horse.
On a horse?
He had his own horse.
He did?
Yes, and I met him.
I didn't know that.
In a place with the Snedeker Avenue and the corner of Montauk Highway. There's an animal shelter, an animal vet's
Yeah, there is.
Well,
right
there used to
there.
be a
You're
place
right.
called the Sugar Bowl.
I remember the Sugar Bowl.
Well, that's
Sure.
where I met him.
You met him at the Sugar Bowl.
Yes, I did.
And he was on a horse?
And he was on his horse.
Now, what year was that roughly? Or
I was in 8th grade.
8th grader. Now, was he a classmate or was he older?
He was
or-
a year ahead of me.
He was a year ahead of you. That's wonderful. That really is wonderful. Yep, so that's how you met, and eventually you married your spouse.
Yes.
Yeah. Any historical events that you can think of that affected you, your family, or Bayport, or Blue Point over the last number of years? Any?
Well, I remember the murder.
The murder. Now, what murder was that? Oh,
The swamp,
oh, that
Blue
one.
Point Swamp.
Yeah.
Our next door neighbor on Pleasant Avenue
Yeah.
was accused of that.
Oh,
He was the bouncer in the club. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah.
But he
Her
wasn't.
name was Brandt.
Right.
Irene Brandt, now that I
Right.
think of it.
He wasn't
Yeah.
held responsible.
He
It was somebody
wasn't.
else. He was a bouncer in the club. Somebody else.
That was the Shoreham, I think.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And I knew she was murdered and then dumped in the sump,
Yes.
hoping that she would decay.
Right, and we all wondered. Nobody knew that sump unless if
No.
you lived around here. We used to walk. I used to walk the tracks.
That was a scary murder. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the late 60s, I'd say, or somewhere there in the 60s. Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
She's got the pictures.
Come in and
Jean.
sit down and join us. Well, we're being joined.
You go ahead.
Now we have Helen's sister here, and your name is
Maiden name or marriage?
both.
My name is maiden name Ann Saunders. My married name is Ann Dunphy.
Ann Dunphy. Oh, that's wonderful. So, another old timer.
That's it.
And did you grow up in Blue Point, of course, in
Born and
Bayport?
raised here.
Same.
Born and that's great. Well, I'm glad you were able to come in for the
Yeah,
interview.
she's got all the pictures. I don't.
Never take it off.
I have mine too, but
You
I
have
don't
yours
wear it.
too.
Yes.
That's
I
wonderful.
love Blue Point.
Yeah, it's a wonderful town. It's changed over the years, of course.
Well, we had happy times going down Blue Point Avenue, right?
Yeah, what was
in the
one of
Great
your
South?
Your happy time
happiest day taking my
memories?
fishing pole,
Oh,
my
yeah.
net, and Memorial Day weekend used to be so cold we didn't care.
Oh.
Mom and Pop would take us down, and my mother would,
We belong to the Blue Point Beach Club.
and
The
we'd
Blue
have to
Point
go in the
Beach
water.
Club.
That's
That was
right.
at the end of Blue Point
Oh
Avenue.
yes, that was quite the place to be.
The owner I knew down there was Thiner.
Yes.
You remember Mrs. Thiner?
Oh, yes,
Well,
we
Mr.
do.
and Mrs. Thiner.
And we knew everybody in Blue Point then.
Isn't that? Did you ever live in one of those little rent to friends in
No.
one of those little cottages? Remember they had about eight
Yes.
or 10
Well, remember
cottages
them.
down there? And the other thing I remember from the old club, maybe you do too, remember those beach chairs they had up there? And you could rent a chair if you wanted for
Okay.
the season.
Yes.
Yes, I do. Oh, I remember
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And it was a numbered chair, I believe. I forget now, but
We used to take swimming lessons with Ben Tabachnik.
oh, Ben Tabachnik, of course.
He was our
Yeah.
my swimming instructor.
From where
he
we got the
flunked me.
He flunked you.
I couldn't carry him out of the water for life saving.
Really?
So he felt bad.
Oh.
He had to flunk me.
And he was sort of the founder of Camp Tabat.
Yes, he was.
Tabachnik. Tabat.
Yes.
Now I always say Tabat. Is that the right spelling?
Tabachnik.
Tabachnik.
It's his
But then
real
I
name.
heard someone once told me I was pronouncing the camp wrong.
It's Camp Tabat.
That's what I always thought. And they said, no, it was Tabit. I said, I never heard Tabit
I didn't
before.
either.
It was Camp Tabat. And that was only a day camp. It wasn't,
Yes.
wasn't
right.
overnight or anything like that.
The last time I saw him, we were getting gas in our boat, and he pumped the gas.
He did.
He remembered me all those years
Isn't
later.
that one? Did you ever go to Camp Tabat?
No,
You
no.
weren't. No, I didn't
I was
either.
too old.
Too old to go to Camp Tabat.
Right. I had my own camp, the kids.
The kids did that.
I wanted to tell you about the little library.
Yeah, the little library. That was the liquor store.
Next to the liquor store there.
Right.
It was very, very tiny. And I remember my mother had a very low numbered library card. And she only read murder mysteries. And they would call her up to let her know when there was a new batch of books. Well, I remember this one time that she got the book and she came home and she started to read it. And the pages, the last chapters that described who was the murderer or murder, were sealed together. So she was the first one to read the book
Oh, my
all those
word.
years ago.
The pages were never cut. So did she cut them?
Yeah.
And she wanted to find out who committed the murder.
But she used to read several books a week. And then she informed me I was grown up at that time, and she said, "Dear, I speed read, I learned it in college."
Read.
So she could read like 3 or 4 books a week, but she just read the important words.
I don't know if the library had that many books at that time.
I know, they didn't.
Isn't that amazing?
They're very tiny. It probably was half the size of this room.
Yeah, the whole store today is still there, of course,
Right.
down the street, but the whole store today is a liquor store.
Yes, but it was only that
But
one little
half
section.
of it was the northern half, I think,
That's
closest
right.
to the tracks was the library. Mm-hmm. Isn't that amazing? It was only there for maybe 2 years or 3.
Right.
Didn't stay there too long.
No.
But they had to move out of the school,
Yes.
and then they moved over to that place. And the other thing I found out about that from research, they paid rent there, and it was $8 a month.
Oh,
That was the
Goodness
rent for the library.
our mother was a teacher in Blue Point, too.
She taught, what was her name now? That was
It was Pray.
Pray. Oh, yeah,
Catherine
Pray.
P-R-A-Y.
Yeah, P-R-A-Y. Now, was she buried in the back here?
Yes.
I was going to say, because I remember that tombstone.
Yes.
I have a picture of her. She was in the Order of the Eastern Star, I
Yes,
believe.
she was.
Yeah,
And so was our grandmother.
really.
My daughter, Debbie.
Debbie.
Houdek, she is trying to get into the DAR.
Okay.
A lot of red tape. She's been trying for 3 years.
Genealogy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe she can do a lot of genealogy online.
Yes, she has.
I don't, maybe that's helpful today.
Yes, it is. Much helpful.
But in the old days, you had to do it all by mail.
Oh,
or
still a lot of it.
It was a lot. It was very complicated.
Very.
And then the library, moved over here. Do you remember Miss Noble? Estelle Noble's office?
Oh,
I do.
yes.
Remember on the corner of
Yes.
Madison and Blue Point, where the dentists
Yes.
are today?
Yes. Yes.
That was Miss Noble's office. And I know the library was there for a few years.
Yeah.
It moved around.
I seem to not recall that as well. I must have been older and
Yeah, maybe so.
different things.
She only gave part of her office was the library.
Okay.
And I don't think she charged rent either.
Interesting.
And then the library came here. Do you remember the Bennett House out front here?
Yes.
Yes.
The old Bennett House. So what pictures do you have? Ooh.
Well, I got pictures of my sister Helen, me. We had an old playhouse,
Oh.
Yes.
We can copy those,
and I just thought you'd ever. These are all the neighbors in
Yes.
Blue Point, and Helen can read them on
Yes.
my visions. Okay, Norma Beer.
Oh,
Oh,
all
Norma
right.
Pierre. That was Roe Park.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, our first club.
That's our first.
Now, Mrs. Beer, has since died. She's
Yes,
buried
she's
back here,
buried
of
there,
course.
too.
But her daughters are around.
No, well,
Not
Barbara
here.
died.
Oh, Barbara died.
And Norma,
yeah. She's in Texas.
Yeah,
I think.
we're always
friend.
on the phone together.
Isn't that wonderful?
I still keep in touch with so does Ann, with my high school friends,
Oh,
like
that's-
Ruby Bean.
Yeah, Roop. I don't know. Roop's having trouble walking.
I know.
I wish
I wanted him to
we'll
come
try
today.
to get Roop to come in.
I wanted him to come with me today.
Yeah. I remember his mother. Do you remember her, Marguerite, being
No.
down on Glades Road?
This is my father and his little boy. My grandmother, my grandfather. This is
isn't that
1906.
Now, were you living in Blue Point then, the family?
No, Grandma,
No.
my mother came at age 12.
Oh, age 12 out here. And what led your family out here? Why did they come out
Arma
here?
Meats.
Oh, Arma Meats did that.
That's right, from my grandfather.
Now, is that company still in business, Arma?
I don't know.
I wonder.
I think they were based in Brooklyn or something.
They were,
I recall
huh?
that, yeah.
It's always interesting to see why people came to Blue Point
Yes.
or Bayport.
Well, I always tell everybody I grew up with a lot of wasps.
Wasps, yes.
Well, I mean, I had a Beers for neighbor, and I had Brown,
Yes,
Shan.
Yeah.
You can't get... But we had Petroskis across the
Oh,
street.
the
a real
Petroskis, of course.
Polish thing.
Yes, yeah. And then Nicholson's lived up
Yes,
there. Remember
yeah.
Nicholson's? I wonder
Roscott's.
who now is the longest living resident in Roe Park. Like, it used to be Mrs. Beer, Mrs. Becker,
Mrs. Roscott.
Mrs.
Mrs.
Roscott.
Roscott, but they're all gone now.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't
They're all
think there's
gone.
I don't know
anybody.
who's...
Because I visit them. Yeah, they are all gone.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I don't think there's anybody.
Nobody. Isn't that too bad?
It is.
This is Roe Park,
Wonderful
the place
neighbor.
to live.
That's right.
Remember the
Yes, I do.
the signs
We
on the
sure
Montauk
do.
Highway?
I got pictures of Walter.
Well, we grew up with like Walter
We all
and Pete
grew up
Rowe,
together.
Yeah, the Rose, of course.
Sally.
If I lived in Roe Park today, I'd start an association and I'd put the signs back.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
this is Roe Park, the place to live.
Yeah,
And the other
it was.
beauty of Roe Park, the thing I really like, the electric poles were all behind the houses. You didn't
that's
have
right.
you didn't have
That's
wires
right.
running down your street.
Well, Tippy LePray,
Tip, I remember
Worked
Tip from
at
Pelco.
Pelco.
Yeah,
and I remember one time the wire came down, and there's my sister out there going to touch it.
oh, don't touch
And
that.
there's Tippy. He flew out of the house.
Yes, Tip was a good man.
The
I loved
best.
him.
He was the best.
He was the
He's
best.
buried in the back.
Oh,
here,
yeah.
you know
Happy
that.
childhood, I'll tell you, we did.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
yeah,
wonderful.
Roe Park. You know, it's funny because you knew everybody in
Yeah.
Blue Point, but we all had different neighborhoods.
Yes.
Now, we had the Roe Park group, and then the people that lived on Madison Avenue, like Rupi in that area,
Over here.
they had their group.
Sure.
And then the ones that lived on Bell Avenue and North, they had their group.
And Grandview down there was
Yes.
another group that was
Well, they were
primarily
only summer.
summer
They were
the city
houses.
folk. My
They were
mother
the
would
city
say the
folk.
city folk. Yeah.
Yep,
Well, I always refer to the
My
summer.
mother said that
Yeah.
once. City folk.
city folk. Yeah, Blue Point had its neighborhoods.
Yes,
Yes.
it did.
Yeah, we did.
Now, I wonder if the people living in Roe Park today, do you think they know it's Roe Park? Do they still use that
I don't
expression?
know. I never heard. I never
That's a
heard
good
anybody
question.
I
say
wonder.
anything.
I know the old timers,
Because I go to the Blue Point Diner all the time.
Blue Point
I have to-
Diner.
yeah, I'm always there.
And I know on the bridge there it does say Roe Park.
Yes,
You know, on
Yes.
that little bridge on Park Street.
Yes.
But I don't know if they call it Roe Park anymore.
Oh, they used to have a sign up there.
I always like those signs. I think there were
Yes.
two of them
Yes. Oh,
The
yes.
place
facing the Montauk Highway.
Well, I used to. One of my hobbies was to walk up to the corner and sit on a bench there
Oh,
and
yeah,
watch the
that's
foreign
right.
license plates from different
Yeah.
states.
Come by.
Yeah,
Because that was like, there was no Sunrise Highway.
no.
So you had to use the Montauk Highway.
Oh yes,
So you'd see a lot of cars going by.
and in the summer, on a Saturday, you couldn't get out of our street
I believe
because
it.
they came out. I don't know why they bothered to come out from the city.
Yeah,
Took them all day to get out there, and then on Sunday they turned and went back.
Yeah.
Only Montauk Highway.
it's like going to the Hamptons today. The other thing interesting about Roe Park, I think it's the only part of Blue Point where you have sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Yes,
Most of our other streets here only have sidewalks on one side.
right.
Roe Park has them on every street.
Yeah, we went roller skating by the hour.
Yeah.
Well, my father opened his oil business in his oil truck on Pleasant Avenue.
On Pleasant
They
Avenue.
call him the Green Hornet.
Yeah.
Green
Yeah,
Hornet.
he was a Texaco
Now,
driver.
what year would that have been?
Well, he opened the
1948.
station, I think, when I was 15. I'm 79.
1948.
And he had the oil truck before that, but he still worked for Texaco, and he had a driver for a while, and then he opened the business in Aladdin Fuel, which was Saunders
Aladdin,
then.
of course,
It was
yes.
Saunders.
yes.
That was our.
That was Saunders.
Get a picture of that. I got pictures.
I wonder if Texaco, is that still in business? Or?
Well, they were right off of River Avenue. That
Oh,
was
they
where
were.
their plant was.
Oh.
I don't think so now.
You can trust your car to the man who wears the star.
That's right.
That was Milton
right.
Borough,
I
and that was
remember
Texaco.
that.
I remember that.
Oh, me too. We were the second family in Blue Point to have a TV,
Yes.
You were.
Yes, we were.
and the screen was this big.
Yes.
And you had to have a blue thing over it because you were afraid of radiation. When I would come home, I was 14. I would come home, and there would be wall-to-wall
Yes.
bodies with
Watching.
the little kids watching Howdy
still
Doody,
talk about it.
whatever.
Who had the first TV? Do you have any
I
idea?
think it was Curtis.
Oh, Curtis.
Oh,
I
Curtis.
think Curtis's.
You're right.
I remember growing up, you'd see a TV antenna on top of a house. You'd think, wow, they have television.
That's right.
That was like amazing.
Well, when you think back, we were the
Television.
second family.
Second family to have television. Now, where did you get it? Do you have any idea? Like, we didn't no
my
dealers
father,
yet.
My
Mr.
father dealt with Scordines in
Oh,
Patchogue.
Scordine, I remember that name.
Yes, in Patchogue.
Scordines. So what else can we think of the old days that we should preserve here? What about socially? What did you do socially?
Well,
Tell us what we did.
okay.
Yeah.
We had the playhouse, and in my day, I'm 3 years older, we played war.
And the playhouse was behind your house, is that right?
On the property.
On the property,
yeah.
yes.
But we played war. We had the hats,
Yes.
the rifles, the
Helmets.
fakes. And we dug foxholes in the empty lots, and that's what we did during the
And
war.
the Victory
days.
Gardens.
And then we had a victory
Yeah,
garden.
Victory Garden.
And I remember, was it 1945 in August when the war was over?
Yes.
That we went around all the streets in Blue Point with the pots and the pans celebrating.
Banging them. VE Day and VJ Day.
That's right.
Victory
It was in
after
August.
World War II. Wow.
And I remember collecting the aluminum
Yeah.
and getting into large ball. And then also the post office sold us the stamps. So savings bond stamps. So I got every week my 25-cent allowance. I was a big hoarder of savings bonds. I really was.
That's wonderful. That's very patriotic.
I'm very patriotic.
You were helping the war effort.
Yes, I was. I needed
Even
scarves.
a little bit, but it was great.
I needed a scarf for this guy. My mother showed me how to start it.
Good.
I think it would wrap around about 8
Yeah, big,
people, but
big.
with 9,000 holes in it. But anyway, that's what I did.
That was World War II.
Right. So we did a lot of, and we played Ring Alevio at night.
Ring Alevio.
And we had a big screen and porch, so a lot of kids would come. We'd play Monopoly, so we didn't do much. When you think about it, we'd go to the beach during the day.
What number was your house up
14.
there? You were 14. Wow.
But there wasn't any number in the beginning.
No.
We had a post office
I was going to
box.
say, in the old days, houses in Blue Point didn't have numbers.
No,
They only started numbers when we had home delivery.
right. No, you have to go. You had a post office box.
And the post office was right here.
That's right,
Do you remember any?
Mrs. Goodwin.
Oh, I was going to say, do you remember Mrs. Goodwin? Yeah,
Very well.
May
Mrs.
Goodwin, was it?
Bartholomew.
And I remember
Mrs.
Mrs. Goodwin
Bartholomew.
because I worked with her in the school district
Yeah.
in Bayport.
That's
And
interesting.
then I was fortunate to work in the Bayport School District.
Oh, that was nice. Yeah. Now, where did you work? Were you at right on Academy?
I worked right here.
Oh, in that building.
Yes.
That's now gone.
Yes, I worked
Yeah, I
there.
remember that.
I did all the benefits.
Oh, you
health and
did?
dental benefits.
Wow.
And I worked also for the buildings and grounds.
And who was the superintendent then, or principal? Or
When I worked there, it was Anthony Gladino. He was the superintendent
okay.
of buildings and grounds. That was his title. Now it's changed so
it
much.
changed so much. So, what have been the biggest changes you've seen in Blue Point after all these
Not
years?
knowing anybody.
You don't know anybody. I know.
I go to the diner, Blue Point Diner. I have a ball up there.
And you know them.
I talk to. Let's put it this way. I'm not like my father. I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Good.
You never
Good.
know. Oh yeah, I love people. I like going up there because I had happy memories there.
Do you remember when that place was called Big Frank's?
Yes, I do.
Remember
Very
Frank Maglino?
Very well.
That was the starting of the diner, I
I can go
think.
back before then, too.
Yes, we can
Was
go
there
back.
a diner there, though, before
was a
Frank?
When I was 16, I worked there.
Wow.
It was an ice cream parlor.
In the same building? Or
Yes.
was it? Oh, same building was an ice cream. I don't remember that.
Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was next door with a
It was Siglio's.
photo. Yeah, Siglio's.
Siglio's.
And
The one I remember coming to Blue Point was Carvel.
Yes.
When it opened up
Oh,
there. That was a
yes.
big
doing.
that was
yes.
big doing. Carvel.
but Flo's was the place to go.
Flows.
It's not summer unless you go to Flo's.
When does summer begin?
Right. When you
Flo's
go-
opens.
That's it. When you go to
Remember
Flo's.
Yeah.
the original owner? Mm-hmm. Pop knew.
Yeah, her name was
Betty.
Flo.
And
And then Betty Edmonds took it over.
Yeah.
Flo, is buried back here, but she doesn't have a marker.
Oh.
Yeah, Flo Kimball. Her name was Florence
Kimball, that's right.
Oh, I couldn't remember last.
Yeah. Her maiden name was Armstrong. She died in 1950,
Well, so Betty took over.
and then Betty took over. Betty had worked for Flo
Yes.
down
Yes.
there, and then took over the
I worked with
stand.
those for a couple of years.
Now Ruby's granddaughter's working there.
Is she? I wouldn't know her.
Jeannie. Yeah, I don't know her either.
I wouldn't know her by sight. Is her last name Bean?
No.
Oh.
I think it's De Palma, Apollo or something like
Oh, I wouldn't know her. I know Connor down there, Connor Vigilata.
Okay.
He
Yes,
manages
yes,
the
he
place,
manages it,
Right.
and he's a good man.
Yeah. Very nice.
Now they have Flo's on wheels.
I
Flo's
see that.
on the
I
go.
see that truck.
What would Flo think of that?
No. Good
Progress. Well, every time I go in the jams over here, you know, jams,
yes.
I always say to him, how's everything in the post office?
Oh,
He
yes.
knows it.
Yes.
Monty.
Yeah.
Well, the post office also was down by the Salvation Army, I think, at one
Yeah,
point.
it was. It was right there.
It was.
You know who built that was Riney Nicholson.
Oh, really?
Riney built that,
Oh, I
and
didn't know
then
that. I didn't
the
know
post
Mr.
office moved over.
Okay.
But they were only there for a
Yes, they
relatively
were.
short time. Then they went up to the Montauk Highway, and it's kind of dangerous up there trying to
Oh,
cross
it
the
is.
street.
It is.
I had a lot of happy memories walking up the Blue Point Avenue to go to Nicholson's.
Go to Nicholson's.
Mr. Brown's, you know, Mr. Brown's brother. That was during the war. Remember that, Helen?
I don't
Now,
know
who was Mr.
Brown's
Brown's brother? Yeah, I'm trying to think.
He
of
owned it for a while.
Bob Brown.
Bob Brown's.
What about his
brother?
son,
He
Jim?
didn't own
Jimmy,
it.
wasn't it?
Jimmy.
Jimmy Brown.
Yep.
He owned.
He did.
He owned.
During
Yeah,
the
but,
war.
okay, Jimmy Brown was a house mover. He wasn't.
Oh,
he-
that's
right. He
Brown,
was
yeah.
not.
Okay. Okay, it was Bob Brown's brother.
I didn't
Was
know
it
he had a
Bob's brother?
I
I
didn't
don't
know he had a
remember that.
brother.
Yes.
The only one I
For a while,
really
couple
remember
years.
was Bob's wife,
Marie.
Marie.
Right.
Yeah, she used to make, what was it, coleslaw or something? I don't know what it was,
Yes.
but something like that. And it was very popular over there.
I'll have to tell you a funny story
Yeah.
about the Browns, though.
Yeah.
Marie Brown was a very sensitive woman, and whenever she would discipline the children, she would faint. Something would happen to her. So the kids would come over, Joyce would come over, and they would always call my mother Mrs. Saunders and my father Wally. Wally, come quick. Mommy's fainted. So he would have his little first aid thing, and over he would go. Well, this one time, she cut herself, but they didn't tell my father. He didn't like blood. So the next thing I know, over he goes, and he faints. They have to come. Mrs. Saunders, come quick, Wally fainted. But I have to go back. During World War II, my mother was the victim. They had the air raids.
Yeah, that.
Okay. My father was the first aid responder, and my mother was the victim. So it was always planned when they were going to have these raids. So my mother would go on a corner, and they would tell her in Roe Park that she would have a broken leg at that point. So my father would have to go with whomever and do his thing with the first aid kit.
Wow.
Yes. So I remember a lot with World War II.
Wasn't Dr. Breyer involved in that first World War II
Yes.
raids or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
But there were certain people, in certain areas, like we lived.
Yes. Did they ever do airplane spotting here during
Yes.
World? They did that.
Yes, they did.
And where did they do that? Do you have any idea?
I don't know if they came from Republic.
Oh,
Where did they
okay.
come from?
Yeah.
I just remember hearing about that vaguely, but I didn't know whether they did that in Blue Point.
I'm flashing back. I'm going.
I know. You
No,
try
I
to
am.
think back.
Oh, I had a wonderful childhood. I'll speak.
Yeah.
It's
We
easier
had a
going
party
back
house.
than what I had yesterday.
It was a happy house.
What I did yesterday, I can't remember. But
We had a hot dog tree too. My father made a hot dog tree on Memorial Day
Oh,
weekend.
yes.
He'd put that raw hot dog up in the branches.
Oh.
And Memorial Day weekend, not every year, but you'd have to go get the hot dog and put it on the grill. I remember that.
Pick your own hot dog?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And the little kid next door
They loved my
got
father.
wise.
Yeah.
And he'd wake up early and early every year, so my father had to go there early.
We had such a wonderful childhood. I mean, I'll tell you, simple. We didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Happy parties.
Very nice.
I love, my parents were very good to everybody. You never knew. They used to call our house the party house, and
Party
they still
house.
do. Al Furchett, they still call it the
yeah,
party
Al.
house. Yeah,
Oh, God, yeah, we know Al. Really.
yeah, a lot of memories.
Well, another thing that
Yeah.
these men had in Blue Point
We tend.
was a hunting lodge called the Wheat Ten in
Yeah.
Gilmanton Iron Works. Have you heard about that one?
And that was way up in Vermont or somewhere,
New
wasn't it?
Hampshire.
New
New
Hampshire.
Hampshire.
Yeah. Gilman.
Yes.
We 10.
And these men,
It's a story in itself.
it was their, yeah, it's a big story, but it was a corporation.
Can't tell all.
And they went, all the Blue Point guys went up there so-called hunting, which I don't think they ever got a deer. But anyway, they had a lot of fun. But then, when the men died off, now my mother loved it up there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let her belong.
Because she was
Only
for
right,
men.
That's it. You could go as a survivor, as a spouse, and just go, but you couldn't own it. So I think the only one who owns it now is Al Furchard.
Yeah, Al
Really?
does, yeah.
It's still there?
Yes,
Yes, it is.
We
He
10.
still does it. I love it. I had a lot of fun.
Wow.
A lot of happy
So that was
memories.
another big thing with Blue Pointers. Bob Brown and Al
Yeah.
Furchard, my father. Sarah Sirianni's.
I just remember Bob running across the street in his apron to trigger the siren
Yes.
at the fire department. And I don't believe Bob was a member of the
No,
fire
I
department.
don't think
but he-
so either.
I think he was made an honorary member.
Because he was so close.
But he used to trigger or open the doors or something.
Yeah.
Fire.
I used to play. My father got so mad at me because for Christmas one year I got a doll. He didn't get mad at me, but I got a doll from Santa Claus, and I said I don't like it.
No.
I had to be how old? I don't know, 5 years old. Helen. I don't like the doll.
Oh.
So my father built me a basketball court
That's right.
right next to 14 Pleasant Avenue.
Good.
But I played ball by the hour. It was a godsend because I was
Oh,
hyper.
yeah.
So anyway, I used to play with Bobby next door, Bobby Brown. But one day, Mrs. Gilmore told me years later, she said, you know, Ann, you were very irritating. We didn't want to say anything to you, but because I was out early in the weekend
Oh,
playing
yes.
ball.
Bang, bang, bang. You
Dribbling the ball.
Oh,
That's it.
oh, yeah, I was very athletic. So I'll never forget that. But
And what was it? Did you have asphalt there?
no, just dirt.
Just dirt.
Yes.
Didn't know
But
anything.
it was loud.
And everybody loved to come over.
Yeah, all the high school kids. And stuff.
We had a lot of parties. Oh, we did.
Yeah.
My mother and father gave us Sweet 16 parties at the yacht club.
Yeah, the Domino Yacht Club.
Domino Yacht
Yeah.
Club. That's still there,
That's
I'm
still
sure.
there.
Yeah.
Domino Yacht Club.
Yeah. And Malin, Fector, and all the old
Yeah.
crowd, and the Adams. And a lot of, I get me going about people.
Yeah.
They just had a lot of nice fun. Barthelme's,
Yeah.
don't get me going. I'm flashing back like hell. So I don't know what I did yesterday.
I know.
I hate it when you ask me.
It's true.
That's true, but I
wonderful.
can remember.
Do you remember any other old stories about Blue Point or anything you think should be preserved here? And
No, I got in trouble. I remember getting yelled at. I went in the back, I went a couple of streets over, and this person, I'm not going to say, I wasn't crazy about them. So I went there with Dick Shan. I could say that, my friend Dick, he passed away. So
yeah.
remember I picked the daffodils. I picked the bulbs out.
Oh,
And
well, we all.
he was looking for me, and I was scared. I was petrified. And I remember my mother was a child. We used to go ice skating by that. I remember the winters were very
ice
cold.
Skating.
The Blue Pine Pond.
At the laundry pond?
Mom had the cowbell. That I remember.
Oh yes, can you imagine? We lived 5 blocks
Yeah, this is
away.
true story.
You could hear
from,
it.
My
Oh, yes.
mother didn't believe in opening the door and yelling.
No.
So my father bought her an honest to goodness cowbell. Now I think the neighbors would have preferred her yelling.
Yes.
But this
That
cowbell
was
we
loud.
could hear at the pond.
That's 5 blocks.
And I remember
Yes, it was.
the photographer was scheduled to come to my house for
Oh.
a picture. And he said, and where are the kids? Oh, don't worry, they'll be home in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
She gets out there, rings the he couldn't believe it, and there we all came home.
Wow.
That cowbell, I'll never forget that.
Now, where's
And we
the
had a
bell
chicken
today?
coop.
Did you
Now-
My
save
sister
it?
Beth
Betsy.
took
Good.
it out now. I don't know who has it. Does
Oh.
Lisa have it?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Somebody
One of my
has the
nieces-
cowbell.
Yeah.
It's been preserved.
And then we had the chicken coop in the backyard, Helen,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
I remember my father taking the axe during the war. I remember that.
and I held the head.
And killing them. Well, we didn't know.
At least you got eggs.
Yeah, we ate.
You
We
know.
didn't have them long. Believe me, it wasn't a thing that my father liked to do.
No. But you had chicken and eggs.
And the
during-
victory
And
garden,
your victory garden.
I still have the pin. I wish I had it. at
and the
home.
milk delivered, and the bread delivered,
Yeah.
And the
eggs
soda.
delivered.
Well, we had
I
soda
don't
later.
remember- I don't remember
At
soda.
Houdek.
I never
Yeah.
drank this.
What else
I
did
never, I'm not a soda.
And the groceries delivered. Bob Brown would, bring home
Yes.
to Mom, right? And then the meat store up there, Joe Yablonsky,
Joe
Yablonsky.
Yablonsky right up the
delivered the
street.
meat.
Yeah.
The other thing I remember about Bob, he would always, when you bought things, he'd write it on the paper
Yes.
bag.
Yes.
He never used a
exactly
machine
so.
or a cash register. He
forgot.
wrote it on, and that would be your receipt. The paper
right.
bag.
That's right.
I
I remember that.
You do, Helen?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Another thing,
War, though.
Helen and I, we'd go to the bazaar back here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I knew. I told
Oh,
everybody,
yes.
was in a big park.
She
You know
won
how-
all the stuffed animals.
because I was very athletic. But in the back, I thought it was huge. It was, you know how when you,
Huge.
I knew it was. Well, I couldn't believe it. I'm in the Lions Club now, so I'm parked back there, and I said, "Oh my God, it's so tiny." We
Right.
loved it. We loved it.
Another thing that Roe Park did,
Oh, yeah,
every
tell-
year
Oh yeah.
in the summer, we had a fair.
Yeah, we
And I'm
did.
not kidding
I
when
didn't
I
know
say
that.
this,
Yes.
it's bizarre.
Oh, we
We raised money for charity, and then we gave it to our parents and whatever.
Yeah.
Oh
But,
yeah.
you know, the parents would all like candy apples or...
Oh, I forgot about that.
But one day, Eddie Janik had this goat, and he was going to give goat rides on a cart. Well, I got on the goat ride, and the thing bucked me off. So when the day came, I test drive. When the day came, we sold chances. The goat wouldn't get off its haunches. It sat down.
It wouldn't move.
Wouldn't move.
Oh, there goes the goat ride.
But we used to collect lots of money.
I got $5 once. I mean, that was a lot of money then for somebody.
That's a lot of money.
No, but it was. And we used to shovel the sidewalks. I did.
And where was that held, the fair? Where was the fair?
In an empty lot,
Oh,
forever.
one of the Roe Park lots.
Jeez.
I mean, we didn't have to get any, like today, you couldn't do it
Oh,
because
you
you
need
need a permit or you need
permits.
this or that. We didn't have any of
No,
those
no.
problems.
Nobody sued anybody.
No. Well, of course, the Rose lived in Roe Park anyway, so they wouldn't.
They were right there.
Remember Pop used to take me to Coney Island when we were little kids?
Oh, yeah. we went
Oh, God. Pop, put us in the car, off we go, have friends.
there. And I remember grabbing hold of his bumper in the snow.
Oh,
yeah.
And he would take us all around. Do you think I would ever let any of my kids do that
Never.
today? No.
The bumper,
Never.
right. Oh, my God. I forgot about that, too.
Wow.
No traffic, though, Helen.
No, it was
Oh,
quieter.
my God.
Belonging to the beach club is
Jeez.
really a nice.
Down there.
Yes.
That was nice.
And our father, once a year, fully dressed, would make his appearance.
Yes.
That's it. Once
He didn't
a
like
year.
the water.
He liked to sit.
But he had a boat. Pop got a boat.
Do you remember they had two slides down there?
Oh, we
I
sure
do
do. The
remember.
big one and the
Two
small one. Yeah.
rafts, I think.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, my God.
I
remember that.
very, very well.
Ribs.
Yeah. And they also had the jellyfish nets.
Yes, I do
Which
remember
always
those,
weren't
too.
effective. Because
No.
there were some jellyfish in there.
No, and the crabs.
And the crabs.
A lot of
Can't
times
believe
on
all
toes.
this.
Oh, yep. And I remember Mrs. Steiner used to stand there with binoculars to make sure nobody swam from the big dock over to her place.
right.
Right.
She didn't want
No.
anyone
God,
invading
I
her.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
I remember when they put alcohol on the premises.
Oh, at the beach club? Oh.
They opened it up.
Yeah, in the
And,
casino there, or whatever they
Things
called it.
changed a bit.
Things changed. Yeah, not necessarily for the better.
No, not for the better.
No.
I remember a cat fight, my first and
Really?
only time I've ever seen that.
Wow.
Yeah, and there used to be a lady down there that sold things, right? Little concession. I don't
I remember the
remember.
concession, but
I know they had food, you know.
Yeah, they had food
at
in
the
that
end.
big
Yeah,
house.
at the end.
And then further down, they had like a shed of some sort with benches, and you could have your lunch in there.
Yes.
I remember one day we put our lunch in there, and a horse was down there and ate it. The horse ate our lunch. We had to go to the other casino, or whatever they call it. Oh, well,
How many years you been here since a little?
we moved here permanently in '48.
Oh, you did. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh.
but we were only summer people prior to that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Now, you graduated from Bayport?
Seton Hall,
Oh,
Yeah, you
class
went
of
to school with-
1960.
You went to
Okay.
school with
Yeah.
the Roscotts?
Yeah, the
Gary?
Roscotts there. I actually went with Connie.
Connie. Yeah.
Okay.
She was around my time.
Yeah,
Yeah, Connie
She's
Roscott.
doing very well. No
Yeah, yeah. They live far off. They don't live. They live in Virginia
Yes,
or
they
somewhere.
do, yeah. I
not,
saw
not
one
local.
Mrs. Roscott
You know who
died.
lives local is Gary.
Yes, he's
He
retired
lives
now.
in
Yeah.
Cornwall.
St. James. Yeah, yeah.
Somewhere over that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's doing good.
yeah, yeah. He's a good guy.
Remember when he was born?
Oh, yes. I used to take care of them.
And the older boy, I don't know.
Paul, he's fine.
I don't
yeah,
know
still
Paul.
married.
No.
Very successful.
So you stay in touch with Roe Park people.
We
Well,
try.
we
Oh,
do.
I try.
That's good. You know who I met recently was Neil Nicholson.
Oh, yes.
We saw at the
Neil.
reunion.
Did you?
Well,
Two
I'm, on
years
the,
ago.
I'm on the reunion committee.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know,
And so is Bobby Parenti, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yes.
see Bobby every
oh,
year.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
We have
all-
a luncheon.
over at Mediterranean Manor.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're
good.
Yeah. A lot of memories.
Do any teachers go to that? Any of your former
They
all
teachers?
Well, Mr. Coverdale
Oh, yeah. He's not
Yeah,
well,
he's
I
a
heard.
no.
Right? No.
and Nick Milletta.
Oh, yeah, Nick. Another
That's
one.
about
yeah.
it, Helen. There's nobody left.
Yeah. And then Earl Tyler.
Oh, yeah, Earl Tyler. I remember
I think
that
he's
name.
still.
Oh, I
That
thought
was
he died. He had to be
Like
here.
shop or something?
Yes.
Shop
Yes,
teacher?
shop.
I think he's the only one of the teachers
That's the only
that
one.
I had.
Yeah,
in
way
school
back. Yeah, sure.
That's still alive.
Wow. Is he local?
Bayport.
I don't
Oh,
think he
good.
was.
I don't know
Good.
where he is, at this point, but he was. He used to
Yeah.
come.
Well, is there anything else that you can think? What do you think of all the changes in Blue Point?
But you know, it's nice to see the old, beautiful homes on Middle Road that
Beautiful.
are untouched.
Yeah.
They can't wait to tear them down, some of these people, because
I
of the
know.
prime location and put up something else. But I still like to see
Yeah,
the old ones
you're
when I
right.
drive by.
Yeah.
And like Roe Park, some of those homes
I know.
are still there.
I believe in Roe Park there was a rule, I think it's still in effect, no fences.
Right.
Like you can't have fences going out to that sidewalk and then back to your house.
That's right.
It had to be open.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any other rules that you know of like that? Or
No.
I just remember that one sort of stuck out
They used
in
to
my
have tennis
mind.
courts there when we were
Oh,
younger.
did they?
Yes, they
The
did.
Russells did, didn't they?
Oh. Now, are there any lots available up there anymore, or are they
I
gone?
think they're gone.
See, I know in Roe Park, too, I think in the old days, it had to be a two-story house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know now there are more one-story houses, but
Yeah, that used to be the case. Well, it's interesting because they were probably rules from the owners of the lots, John J. Rowe.
way back around 1914 or 15. And, you know, each house in Roe Park, it seems to me, had a real nice window facing the
We
street.
still had a nice
Right.
A
window.
nice window in every house.
Yes.
Still there.
Maybe not all the same, but it was a nice window.
Well, I have a funny story to tell. My grandmother actually owned the home.
Oh,
Her
yes.
name is Prey, as I said.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, you gotta
Prey.
tell us
Sure,
now.
Carlotta Prey.
Yep,
My
Carla.
father had a sign made up, a lawn sign, and this is what it said: "Pray for Saunders."
Pray for Saunders.
I remember this little kid. I was sitting out on the porch, and he drives his bicycle by. He must have been 8 years ago.
Yeah.
8 years old, and he mutters,
Pray
"Who
for
the hell wants to pray for Saunders?"
Saunders. Pray for Saunders.
Wasn't that something?
Wow.
Yes, that's what he
Wow.
did.
And his name was Wilson, wasn't it? Wilson.
William
No.
Wallace.
Oh, William.
No, William Wallace, but
William
they called
Wa-
him Wally.
Wally.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
And we're back there. My daughter's back. My daughter is buried
Back there, yes.
And my
yeah.
grandson.
And
Grandson,
Helen's grandson's
wow.
back there too. And then we'll all have you and I are
We
going to
all,
be there.
yeah.
It's a nice cemetery.
Oh, I love it
I
back
love,
there.
I
Blue
love to
Point
go
Cemetery
there.
is very nice.
I always see Mr. Foley.
Yeah. Is that John Foley
Yes, he was my
or
teacher.
the politician?
He was my
Because
teacher.
there is another Foley back
Oh,
there.
yes.
Yes.
Tom Foley.
Yes, well, John Foley was my
John was your
He
teacher.
was my history teacher.
Yeah, over at Bayport.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we kept in touch until he died.
Wow.
He was a very good
Yeah.
friend to me.
I still see Kevin and they come to the diner,
Yeah, Kevin and
brother.
yeah,
I meet up with all of them in there.
yeah,
It's like I'm at the bar.
yeah.
But I don't drink.
No,
I just
no.
enjoy. Helen and I go. Now we're going for our birthdays.
Yeah.
Dutch Street.
And do you get the flows?
Oh, yeah. Well,
You do go down
yesterday,
there?
Dennis McCarthy treated me yesterday.
Did he? Boy, that's nice.
He treated me for lunch. They're interviewing me because I'm a psychiatric nurse. I
Oh,
should have been a
really?
patient. But
Yeah.
the kids from Saylor High School
Oh, yeah.
interview me, want to know about background of mentally ill patients and
Sure.
things like that. It's very interesting. So the kids ask me some good questions. They have to do it in English. They
Good.
graduated from high school this year.
Good.
So it was very interesting. And
Wow.
I told them a couple of stories.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
mention any names, though. I said to them, I should have been a patient a few
Do you
times.
remember this scary woman that used to walk around
Yes.
town?
Gertie Dirty.
I remember her Sadie.
Well,
yes,
yeah, Sadie.
Well, we always.
That's you mentioned psychiatric, but
Yes.
I
I
remember.
only knew her in passing, but I was afraid of her.
Well, let me tell you the
Tell them
story.
Like
the
Sadie.
places.
Okay. We had curbs on our street.
Yes.
High curbs.
Yeah.
Well, Anne looks out the window and she says to my mother, "Grandma's here." and it was sitting on the curb. She was having her lunch. My mother says, I think she needs glasses. So that's when Ann got glasses when she was 3 years
Because that
old.
wasn't your grandma.
No.
No, I got glasses.
Oh, that was Sadie.
Dirty Gertie. That's what we called it.
Dirty Gertie.
sorry,
Now,
should
I
say
heard that she lived in the outhouse
We heard
up here
that.
at the railroad
We
station.
heard that.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. No, I did
But
too.
I don't know whether that was ever true.
I'm not answering, but I heard that too.
And it seems to me when she came down the avenue here,
soul.
she was always wearing black.
Yes.
She was very scary, almost like a witch.
Oh, she was.
I remember a lot about that railroad station.
The station.
Oh, when they would
Oh.
come by with the mail and hang it on the hook
I
there.
know that hook.
Oh, yes. And I used to walk the tracks, and they used to have a guy,
what was his name?
that John Schumann was, he was the coal guy.
Oh,
I always
okay.
thought he was black because he was always black.
Covered with coal dust.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
'Cause I always walked the tracks to go back.
Who was the gentleman? Who was the man? I keep on forgetting who did the wagon.
M-
with the
Mr.
mail.
Gert Seema.
Mr.
you.
Gert Seaman, yes.
Henry Gert Seema.
Yes.
I often wonder whatever happened to the wagon.
I don't know. That would be interesting.
Yeah. But I do remember when you mentioned psychiatric, she was like a mental case
Yes.
walking
Oh,
the
yes.
streets here
Yes.
years ago. Sadie. A little bit of Blue Point.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough. It's just bringing back a lot.
Yeah.
Watch when I get home. I said, oh, I should have told you. Well, I see you.
Well, if you think of anything,
I'm in
come
the
on
Lions
back.
Club.
That's all. We'll be here
Yeah,
all
I'm in the
week.
Lions Club. So
Yeah, we'll be here.
yeah. Oh, you'll be here all week?
Yeah, we'll be here all
Oh,
week. Well, it's
okay.
2:00. Is that all right with you,
Yeah,
ladies? Did we
sure.
finish
Yeah.
enough?
Of course. You've
Well,
got
thank
other
you very
people
much for
waiting.
coming in. It was
Oh.
wonderful.
This marks the end of the interview with Helen Saunders Houdek and Ann Saunders Dunphy.